We'll make a beginning. The concluding session today. Sruti Smriti Puranana Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Sadasiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parambaram. Now in my last lecture, I was concentrating on what is known as Khyadivada or theories of error, perceptual error. I made a very brief survey of the 5 theories of error that we have. Asatkyadi of the Madhyamikas, Atmakyadi of the Vijnanavadins, Anyadakyadi with a variation, Viparitakyadi of the Nayayikas and the Bhattas, Akyadi of the Prabhakaras and also the Sankyas, and then Anirvasaniyakyadi. A few points are left over with regard to the Mimamsa system. The Mimamsa system attaches the greatest importance to the Vedas. Particularly, it is interested in the Karmakanda, the Vedas. Now, a brief reference has to be made to the way they look at the Vedas. The Vedas, according to them, is a book of commandments. Book of commandments. Book of do's and don'ts. What you should do, what you should not do. You can even say book of injunctions. Injunctions telling us what we should do, what we should not do. So broadly, they classify the Vedic texts into 2. Texts which give information about existing entities, existing things. Siddha Vastu Bodhaka Vakyas. Vakya, a sentence. Bodhaka, teaching. Giving instruction. Giving instruction about what? Existing entities. Siddha Vastu Bodhaka Vakyas. Or Siddhartha Bodhaka Vakyas. Siddha Vastu Bodhaka Vakyas. The emphasis is in Siddha Vastu. And this is translated as, in a simple language, assertive statements. Assertive statements. This is a good translation. Some people translate this as existential statements. I don't think that will be all right because it may create problems. So, assertive statements. That means statements which make assertion about the existing things. You make an assertion, says something is the case. If it is a negative statement, something is not the case. So, Siddha Vastu Bodhaka Vakyas and Vidhi Vakyas. Injunctions, injunctive statements. Injunctions. Since all these statements are part of the Vedas, the Mimamsakas cannot exclude number 1. and focus only on two. They have to explain the Siddhavastu Bodhaka Vakyas as well as Vidhi Vakyas. Though their interest is no doubt only in the Vidhi Vakyas. So what they do is, whenever there is any such a statement, they say that it is not meaningful in itself, but it is meaningful only when it is taken as a supplement to any particular Vidhi Vakya. The importance of pradhanya is given to the Vidhi Vakya. Then what do you do with them? You can't say, I will not accommodate them in the Vedas, I will not give interpretation to them. You have to accept that one. But since importance is given only to the Vidhi Vakyas, make them supplement, subordinate to them, preliminary to them. That means it must be connected. It is not valid in itself, but it is valid in relation to, in conjunction with the Vidhi Vakya. Let me give an example. Supposing there is a description about the self, the Atman is such and such. There are any number of Vakyas which give a description about Brahman or about the self. What is it for? It is some kind of a praiseworthy statement so that you understand what it is and be engaged in any kind of a performance as enjoined by the Vidhi Vakya. That means they are supplementary. They are only angas. But the Vedantin would say, well, each statement must be viewed and interpreted as an end in itself. Don't make it complementary to the other one. If there is an injunctive statement, to take it as it is. It conveys its meaning on its own. Even so, a Siddhavastu Bodha Vakyas. Don't try to belittle that, make it subordinate. Just as a Vidhi Vakya is not belittled in its importance, but it is taken as it is and viewed in itself and by itself, not in conjunction with the Siddhavastu Bodha Vakyas. That is fair. That is what should be done. Then what is it that has to be done? No Vidhi can compel anybody to do anything. And therefore they say that ultimately the purpose of the entire the Veda containing all kinds of statements the entire purpose is to provide us the information about the means for the purpose of achieving the end. We have certain ends in view. Our ends or ishtas have to be fulfilled. Ishta. Whatever is desired by us, that's good. We do not know how to achieve them. We are in search of the means. Appropriate means by means of which this end or these ends may be achieved. This end is what will be called Ishta. Ishta. We make a distinction Ishta and Anishta. We have all kinds of Ishtas. The only thing is we don't make a list of the things which I would like to achieve. enormous. Nor do we ask others, "What? Please tell me your ishtas, the things which you want to have, which you want to achieve and enjoy." Supposing I develop a desire to go to heaven, I don't know what to do. I go and make a proper consultation with somebody. What is it I have to do? What are the things I require? The entire information, and who will help me? If it is a yaga to perform, who are the people, competent people? How many days? I get total information by way of consultation to someone who is familiar with that, or if I am capable of understanding, I seek the help and say, read the Veda, such and such a section. So, for achieving, for fulfilling my ishta, there must be sadhana. There are sadhanas. And what is it that come to the other side also? If it is going to heaven or something else, I would like to have children I don't have. For all of them, information is provided in the Vedas. Therefore, we can say the Veda is a book of consultancy. It's a book of consultancy. What is it it does? It provides us Ishta Sadhanata Jnana. Ishta Sadhanata Jnana. Ishta Sadhanata Jnana. There is such a close link between the two, the means and the end. Sometimes we speak of the means end continuum. Continuum. N-U-U-M. The means end continuum. The same principle, Ishta Sadhanata Jnana, holds good even with regard to Siddha Vastu Bodhaka Vakyas, assertive statements. It is true not only with regard to injunctive statements, which are concerned with providing, suggesting the means for achieving the goal. The same way, the same principle has to be applied to assertive statements. I don't know what the self is. I would like to have some information about the self. Many systems speak about it in many ways. The Charvaka gives one idea, the Buddhist gives a different idea, the Jains speak about the self in some other way. Then among the Orthodox systems also there is variation, we don't know. And the Veda is a reliable source of authority. So we would like to look at the Vedas, the text, concerned the text. It gives information. I get clarification from the competent people who can give interpretation of the text. The self is a Siddha Vastu, Brahman is a Siddha Vastu. And the pleasure that I have is something concerned with me, the happiness concerned with me. So, I would have to have information about the various existing things connected with my life. Things involved in our day-to-day life. So, I want to know something about the self. I know about something about the body. The senses and the mind. Then what is this mysterious entity? It says Prajnanam Brahma. So here also, Ishta Sadhanata Jnana is provided by the Vedic text. Therefore, Mandana Mishra, we have it also in the writings of Shankara. Mandana tries to interpret the entire purport of the Vedas. Ultimately, there are only two kinds of statements in the Vedas: assertive sentences and injunctive statements. It is a book of assertions and injunctions. Generally, we say it's a book of commandments. Book of commandments. If you go into the details, yes, these two. There are other kinds of statements, but once you take the injunction, all kinds of injunctions are there. Niyama vidhi, apurva vidhi, pratisankhya vidhi. It's not necessary for us to go into that in this context. In fact, earlier, there was a workshop on the Mimamsa system, the Purva Mimamsa text. A small text was prescribed, which is mainly concerned with the various kinds of vakyas, injunctions. So what is it finally that the Vedas give us? Mandana says, Ishta sadhanata jnana. More than that, nothing. Whether I do it or not, it is left to me. I can listen to several discourses on the importance of the Vidivakya, this and that. Still, after listening to and understanding, I may be quite indifferent to them, because I don't see any end desired by me in that. That's why Shankara says we have to carefully understand the free will of the agent, who is a moral agent, who is a moral person, who is endowed with reason. I have given the argument. Every human being is a rational being. Second step, therefore he is a moral agent, therefore he is a free being, therefore he can do anything, he can do, refuse to do it differently, kartum, akartum, anyada kartum shakyatvat, that is the Purusha. But I am held responsible for whatever I do. So nobody can compel me, not even Ishvara. I must yield to the command of the Ishvara. Then I will do. If I think it is something very important for me, I like it so much, I would like to do. Once I develop a desire for something, and I think that it is very urgently needed by me, no power on earth can prevent me. If I make up my mind not to do anything, if you compel me, I may just do here and there. We பார்த்துட்டே இருப்போம், செய்வோம். முடிச்சுட்டேன், சந்தி பண்ணியாச்சு, ஆயிடுது. You have not taken even 10 minutes? No, I can do it fast. As good as not do it. So when all the Mimamsakas come and threaten us, there are so many Vidivakyas, what is your life? The purpose of human life has been wasted. The only reply that we can give is, look here, have you studied Acharya Shankara? Have you studied Acharya Mandana? They tell us that the ultimate purport of the entire Veda can be reduced to this. In the modern language, it provides a consultancy service. The IT மாதிரி போய் எங்க வேணாலும் எது கேட்டுக்கலாம். ஒன்றும் தெரியல, கூகுள்ல போய் பாருங்க. Get into Google, you get information. Such a Google is here. I'm not making it profane, don't think like that. That is true. Let there be a close observation of everyone into one's own life. Not for the sake of convincing somebody, but for one's own self-satisfaction. What do I do? Really do I do? answer is obvious. That's why I say that one. It's a question of self-inquiry and also self-certification. Don't think that you must get the certificate, all kinds of certificate, not enough ISI. A book of consultation, and it gives you the knowledge of the means-end relation. Knowledge of the means-end relation. Ishta sadhanata jnana.
So when we say Ishta here, we understand is there the highest state that they think of as
Anything, Swamiji, anything is Ishta. When I am hungry, the food is Ishta to me. I need it. It's an end that I need.
is the idea of moksha, Swarga Prapti for them? Or
Is it Ishta or Anishta, Swamiji?
could be Ishta for some people?
All right. So there is a range of Ishtas, there is a range of goals to be achieved, decided by us, starting from the basic needs up to self-realization or Brahma Prapti or Brahma Nirvana, whatever it may be. It is a value. It's the highest value, end value.
Concept of Brahma Nirvana, they have to accept the Uttara Mimamsa and its ideas.
I don't say that, yes, I don't say that, I have not said that Vidhivakyas are useless. I have not said that one. But how do you understand the Vidhivakya? Just because there is a Vidhi, do you obey? I think if you say, people like me, that we also obey, I think it is a lie. Nothing but a lie. I don't. I'm not able to do certain things. I wish I could do. The failure on my part is because of the lack of strong motivation. Given the motivation, I will do that, certainly. I don't require any repetition. I'm not convinced my life can be equally good. Don't think that I'm an astika. No. My life, unless I harm somebody in society, socially evil, deprive somebody of his legitimate means of living, put him into difficulty, do all kinds of socially evil problems, helping people in the proper time and all that one. I don't think that I deserve a place in Naraha. People tell all sorts of, if I say there are all sorts of stories, well, you may think that unfortunately a person who is a Nastika has been brought in here. I'm very clear. I'm very clear. I am not discrediting the greatness of the Vedas. I have been pleading for the study of the text. Shastrigal was telling that, I told him that I am not able to do certain things. There was some discussion. I am not able to. I do not know, give by memory even one single verse in the Bhagavad Gita. I can interpret Bhagavad Gita. I have studied the Bhagavad Gita. I thought that I should not load my mind. But this memorizing should have been done much earlier. Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to do that kind of memorizing work when I was young. In that case, you would stick to me, like the multiplication table. What do? I do study. I study the Bhashya. I can interpret the Bhashya, but I am not able to join with you when you do this before taking our food. You do this chanting. I can't do. I listen to the chanting. I admire that. I appreciate that. Mentally, I try to be one with that, though I cannot recite it. Doesn't matter. I not lost anything. And the Shastrigal was telling that, oh, you do the Vedanta study, Vedanta Shramana, Upanishad studies, all that you do. You don't have to quote. So all that is needed is Ishta Sadhanata Jnana. That is what Mandana says, Shankara says. Mandana devotes a larger section by way of examining, by way of engaging the Mimamsaka in discussion. Don't dispose of these as Arthavada Vakyas. Vakyas which are not meaningful in themselves, but which have to be construed along with the Vidhi Vakyas. Have Vidhi Vakyas. But they do not carry that power of compulsion which you say they carry. No power of compulsion. The compulsion is here is in me. I can do it. I can refuse to do that one. I may even do it not in the way you do, what you suggest. I may do it some other way. Maybe I don't go to the goal. That is the goal. You say go this way straight. I go through a circuitous route. May reach, may not reach, another issue. I think I stop there because I have to say something more about Advaita. And the Mimamsa system, as I told you, is a realistic system. It accepts so many things, very closely following the Nayayika. The world is eternal, unlike the Nyaya Vaisheshika system. The world is eternal. And then it consists of the human beings, the jivas, they got the self and the various objects. A human being has got the self is eternal, and it is equipped with the body, the senses, and the mind. The body is Bhoga Ayatana, the senses, the mind, motor organs, cognitive organs, the mind, Bhoga Sadhana. There are objects in the world, Bhogya Vishaya, all that we accept. We require the body, sadhana, ayatana, sadhanas we require, vishayas we require for our nourishment, for our enjoyment, for our survival. Even for the pursuit to the higher ends, we want objects. And at one time they said that the heaven, Swarga is the goal, then subsequently they revised. They said that no, we can attain liberation. They suggest a very easy way also. Easy way how? They give a classification of the karmas, Nitya karma, Naimittika karma, Kamya karma, and Pratishidda karma. Huh? Pratishidda, Nishidda, Pratishidda, prohibited. Nitya karma, Naimittika karma, Kamya karma, Pratishidda karma. Nitya karma, daily duties, that is obligatory. Naimittika karma, karmas which are obligatory on special occasions, on special nimittas. Shastrial was giving a different interpretation. For example, I do Pitridarpana on the occasion of the solar eclipse or the lunar eclipse. Special occasions, I do that. You've got all kinds of ruling also. And I don't go into all those details. When you should do, when you should not do. When there is Amavasya and Masa Parap, what will you do? Tarpanam you have to do. Both Tarpanams you cannot do. One cannot do. So they work out a principle. Anything that comes frequently, regularly can be ignored. That which comes only on specific occasions, that has to be done. The ruling, we accept the ruling. And Time was when I did my Tarpanam on both occasions, either before the onset of the lunar eclipse and then before the end of the lunar eclipse. I am not able to do. My health will not permit. What is it to do? When health doesn't permit, no injunction on earth will apply to me. I don't do. If it is the daytime, I do. If it comes in the midnight and do the other one. A time was when I did. So, Nitya karma, daily duties, Naimittika karmas, occasional duties, duties on specific occasions, obligatory. Obligatory on specific occasions. Then Kamya karmas. So, they say, do Nitya and Naimittika karmas because they are obligatory. Avoid Kamya karmas. All kinds of Kamya karmas we develop. We want to know whether desiring heaven is a Kamya karma or not. They have prescribed a yaga, Jyothishtoma. Jyotishtomena Swargakamo Yajeta. But anyhow, little desires that we are having, try to put down, try to overcome them, and whatever is prohibited should not be done. So, don't do prohibited acts and give up your desire fulfillment actions. So, what is left over? Do Nitya karma and Naimittika karma, then you can attain heaven. You can attain liberation even. I don't know. That Vaidin says, this recipe given by the Mimamsaka will not hold good. I don't go into the details, that is not necessary. So, they too talk about liberation. They suggest a means, a simple means. So, when we look at the system of the Mimamsa as a whole, and the Prabhagayas and the Bhattas, they have contributed also with regard to the problem of understanding self-knowledge and the nature of knowledge. The Bhattas talk about what is known as attaining self-knowledge through self-consciousness. So, the concept of self-consciousness, they say that one, not every time that we are aware of ourselves, but by means of self-consciousness, if we develop self-consciousness, we can know the self. So, self-consciousness, there is self and consciousness of the self. So, it's a kind of a introspective awareness of the self, self-consciousness. But what is this consciousness? Is it different from the self, or the self itself is capable of consciousness? The Naiyayika makes a distinction between the self and consciousness. Consciousness is only an attribute to the self. The Bhattas do not hold such a view. But how is it that we are able to have that self-consciousness? Is the self, which is the nature of consciousness, is the self splits itself, does it split itself into two? The object and the subject, the knower and the known. What is this self-consciousness? This is an important concept that the Advaita discusses at length, that we want others also, as their systems would permit, to tell them to talk about this self-consciousness. One and the same self, in the act of so-called reflection, cannot split itself into two, the knower and the known. This is what we call karma kartri virodha. One and the same entity, in the same act of cognition. I am restricting the scope, everything. One and the same entity, The same act of cognition cannot divide itself into two, the knower and the known. If it is a knower, the same act, it cannot be the known. Known, the object known, Vishaya. If it is a subject, Vishayi, the knower, Jnata, it cannot at the same time be the Jnaya. If it is the Jnaya, it cannot be the Jnata. One and the same, supposing there is a cognitive act, one and the same cognitive act, I cannot both the knower and the known, the subject and the object. If I am the knower, there is an object before me which is known. That is Jnaya, Prameya. I am Jnata. What is it that happens in self-consciousness? The Bhattas say that normally we do not know the self, but through an act of self-consciousness we can know the self. What does it mean? That in self-consciousness we know the self. What is self? Is it something sentient, a conscious entity, or is it something insentient, like the table and the chair, to be known through consciousness? Sentient entity. Then sentient entity, does it know itself? Sometimes we do make such a statement, I know myself. I know myself. Abhi tells her father, I know what I am doing. I know what I am doing. That Abhi. Abhiyam Nanam. That is the problem of karma kartri viroda. Usually they give the example, the tip of the finger cannot touch itself. இப்படி வகை இது சொல்லலாம், அதுவே தொட்டுருமா அதை? The tip of the finger cannot touch itself. One cannot mount on one's own shoulder. Classical examples. One cannot mount on one's own shoulder. Therefore, one and the same entity at the same time, in the same act of cognition, cannot be both the knower and the known. The Prabhakaras come to our side. We ask them, are you going to be on other side or on our side? The Prabhakaras say, I will be with you, with Advaitins. The Prabhakaras say, like the Advaitins, that whenever we know anything, table, chair, well, there we have Triputi Jnana, three factors are there. The Prabhakaras introduced this concept of Triputi, the knower, the known, and the resulting knowledge. Jnata, Jnaya, and Jnana. The three factors of knowledge. In any knowledge situation, there are three factors. Knowledge situation, Western epistemology. Knowledge situation, there are three factors. The subject who knows, the object which is known, and the resulting knowledge. So, in any act of knowledge in which there is the involvement of these three factors, the Prabhakaras say, the self is known, not the self remains unknown. The self is known. We don't require a separate act for the purpose of knowing the self. It's known. And then similarly, they also raise an important issue. How is knowledge known? How is knowledge known? We say it is known. I know that I have knowledge. How is knowledge known? The Bhattas say that I have knowledge, I can know only by an act of inference. We require an anumana. Anumana. Through anumana, I can know. What is that? We request the Bhattas to tell us, to spell out what they really mean. Whenever there is any object which I know, there are two states. Shastrical made a reference to that. There are two states. A state before knowing it, a state after knowing it. It may be the same paper white. Before I know that, it was in the state of unknownness. Unknownness. But no change has taken place when I know that. No, no, no. Now that it is being known, there is such a thing called jnatata. Adanama? Jnatata. Abhiya uttindirukanga. Knownness is here now. Earlier it was unknown. Now it is, there is such a thing called knownness. Abhi paakarada. Abhiya thandirukku onnu theriyaliye. No, no, no. Earlier they consider the previous state and the present state. And then you know, the little interest we have in the ordinary epistemological problem, we lose. We lose. How many times I have to tell somebody there are two conditions. Prior to its being known and the state after it is known. Now, the Bhattas tell us, prior to its being known, it was unknown, I accept. After it is being known, I can say it is a known entity. If there is a new property that has attached itself to this, called knownness, I don't know what is this knownness. I don't know. There is no. He says jnatata. Adithu sollanu jnatata. And from the jnatata, I have to infer that I have the knowledge of this object. And Prabhakara says, no, nothing of this problem. And there is the not Triputi Jnana, I am the knower, it is known. I know it is known. I know I am the knower. And I am revealed. And therefore, they talk about what is known as self-consciousness of the self. Suprakasa nature of the self. That is very interesting. If you pursue that kind of a problem, and surprisingly, there is a small book which Sartre wrote, The Transcendence of the Self. About 70 pages, 60 pages, 60 to 70. English translation is there. That is the basic work for Sartre, to develop his epistemology. Huh? Sartre, S-A-R-T-R-E. I mean, some people say Sartre. I don't know, but my teachers in Stanford, they said Sartre. Probably the French way, the Anglicized way may be different pronunciation. Doesn't matter. It is the same individual. Whether I say Sartre or whether you say Sartre, the same individual. He discusses this problem of self-consciousness and all that one. That small book. And in my notebook, I have made a cross-reference. See the Prabhakara view. See the Bhatta view. It's an important epistemological discussion. And now, stage has come when I have to bid goodbye to the Mimamsa system. And we come to the last one. You will find that when you go through the system, what I have said, many things I have been telling. We'll just see that one. How do I approach, first of all, Advaita? It all depends upon, just as we will say that in the first class, the teacher must be able to impress the students. Then the rest of the course you can carry on very comfortably. The first impression should be the best impression. Then they develop a love for the course and for the teacher. என்ன சொன்னாலும் வேத வாக்காயிடும், எப்படி பண்ணாலும் வேத பௌரியமா இருக்கும். So, the way we approach that Advaita system is very important. Now, Advaita doesn't start with Brahman. We don't know. In fact, when I went to the States and then went for a seminar and then I gave a presentation, somebody in the, as soon as you start, they will raise their hand. I'm not even completed 1 or 2 sentences. Shankara is, they say, what is this Shankara? Most painful. Who is this Shankara? No, what is this Shankara? Horrible. And Professor T.R.V. Murthy, because you asked about Banaras University at one time, T.R.V. Murthy was a giant in Banaras in those days. Mahadevan in Madras, T.R.V. Murthy in Banaras, Varanasi, and then Kalidas Bhattacharya at Shantiniketan. Trinity, the 3 centers. T.R.V. Murthy is both a Buddhist scholar and a Vedanta scholar and a Vyakarana specialist. All the 3. He studied Vyakarana sitting in the steps of the Varanasi, Ganges steps in Varanasi, under the guidance of a teacher who was blind, was teaching Vyakarana. That was the kind of service, dedication, all that has been undergone by these giants. From Tiruvannamalai, T.R.V. Murthy, a poor man, courted arrest during the Congress, that Satyagraha and all that one. Devoted to the academic side. Once he was there in the academic field, yes. And once he went to McMaster University in Canada for a course. He was invited to teach Madhyamika Buddhism. At the time of the registration, the first class, he said, I have to impose a condition to you. The text, Madhyamika text, as well as Nagarjuna, you know it, you understand it for the first time. I am going to teach you. First, at least for a few months, you study the text and then listen to my lectures. Then only I will allow you to put a question. Not in the first lecture, in the first sentence, saying that how is this possible? Whether it is possible or not, all that you keep within yourself for some time, no doubt. You cannot open your mouth in the class for discussion or clarification or anything. Sit, listen, then you can ask. Similarly, already there is a lot of prejudice about Advaita. The moment I begin to talk about Brahman, should philosophy begin with Brahman? We don't know anything about Brahman. Why do you begin with an unknown entity, totally unknown entity? Shankara did not do. He provides a model. He talks about this world between you and I. And then he makes a good promise what he will do. All the problems will be removed. In a language, how he is down to earth. Down to earth. Yushmatasmat pratyaya gocharayoho vishaya vishayinoho tamaprakasavate viruddha subhavayoho itarayatara abhava anubhavattav siddhayam tad dharmanamapi sutaram itarayatara abhava anubhavattihi ityataha, etc. It goes like that one. Asmat pratyaya gochare. The problem is between you and I, the distinction between you and I, two incompatible things we combine And then the problem is there of Adhyasa. Then finally he says, before closing the Adhyasa Bhashya, what is the fruit that we can expect? What is the result that we can expect? When we do a course, well, there is a feedback and all that one. But in the beginning itself, the teacher tells, this is what I am going to cover, this will be the end. Evam, evamayam, anadihi, anantaha, naisargiko adhyasaha. Adhyasa is no natural to us in our life. Superimposition is so natural to us. Naisargika adhyasaka evamayam anadihi anantaha naisargiko adhyasaka mitya pratyaya rupaha kartrutva bhoktrutva pravartikaha sarvaloka pratyakshaha. There in the Vijnanavadin, please see that text in the Vijnanavada criticism. Sarva Pramana Siddha. And it is Advaita that makes a distinction between what is Prasiddha and Pramana Siddha. I have seen that anywhere. What is Prasiddha and what is Pramana Siddha. Many things are Prasiddha, we take it for granted. But that doesn't mean that they are Pramana Siddha, established by the Pramana. Kartrutva bhoktrutva pravartakaha sarvaloka pratyashaha asya anartha hedoho prakhanaya atmaikatva vidya pratipattaye sarve vedantaha arabhyante. So, the entire Vedic Vedanta text has got this purpose in view. So, Advaita begins its philosophical investigation starting from this world of plurality in which you and I and other beings transact our business of life. This world. That should be the right beginning of philosophy. That means what is implied here is that philosophical methodology should be such that we begin our philosophy investigation with what is known to what is unknown. That is the correct method of pedagogy. From the known to the unknown. Don't start with the unknown. This Brahman, as it is unknown to us. What is known is the world of plurality. World of plurality. So, from empirical pluralism, Advaita proceeds to transcendental monism. Transcendental monism. Not transcendent monism. Transcendent means engur, that which is beyond the world in which we live. That reality then is transcendent. We are not talking about gods in Shivaloka, because you know Shastrigal gave the chart after Hiranyagarbha. Then when you come to the level of Virat, you can talk about Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma. They are all transcendent entities, not certainly at the level of Virat. Hiranyagarbha, okay. Virat, either there is the cosmic perspective or the individual perspective. Samashti is Virat. Vyashti, you and I. Individual perspective. That is collective perspective. So it proceeds from empirical pluralism to transcendental monism. Why this emphasis on transcendental? The supreme reality that we are in search of supreme realities, Brahman Atman. That is what we are in search of, starting from this world, the world of plurality, in which all distinctions are here. The problem of superimposition, adhyasa, is here every time. When I look at you, I look at you with the drishti of adhyasa. என்ன இந்த சுப்பிரமணியன் பிராமணா நான் பிராமணா அப்படி பார்க்கறது, பேசுறதுலேயே கண்டுபிடிச்சிக்கிறது. We are subject to, that is why I written one, adhyasa centered life. எங்க திரும்பினாலும் அத்தியாசம். I given the chapter in my book, adhyasa centered life. That's why he says, naisargikoyam loka vyavahara, he says. It is so natural. யாரையாவது பார்த்தா ஆம்பளையா பொம்பளையா, ஜெண்டர் டிஸ்டிங்ஷன், நார்த் இந்தியனா சவுத் இந்தியனா, பிராமணனா அப்ராமணனா, அப்ராமணன்ல என்ன கேட்டகரி, how much? So the entity that you are searching is here in me. It is transcendental, not transcendent. What is within every one of us, what is one of us, that is transcendental. This Brahman is transcendental in two forms, as the self in the jiva, as the self in the jiva, as the self in the jiva and the jiva. That transcendental Brahman, it is in me as a self. It is called differently, contextual term. I call it now the self in the jiva, the self in the body, if you want. Sometimes I say self in the body. Don't fail to put the hyphen, self hyphen in hyphen the hyphen body or jiva. Self in the body. This is a world in itself, a world in itself. This is a world in itself. And that is the external world, outside world. That is a world in itself. So, the self in the body, then Ishvara or God in the world. We are only familiar with the two worlds. A smaller world, that is my body, micro world, and a bigger world, the external world, macro world. Now, why should I make such a distinction? Is it possible for me to proceed, to move from the micro world to the macro world? From the macro world to the micro world? Yes. Not only Advaitas hold such a view. Plato says like that. He says that, he talks about society and the individual. Society is the individual writ large. WRIT, writ large, expanded large. And the individual is society writ small, WRIT, writ small, written, compressed, whatever it may be, enlarged and compressed. So, if you want to study the problem at a bigger scale, go to the external world, society or the state of the world. It is magnified, you can see what is what very clearly. If you think that even a smaller analysis will do, be satisfied with the individual. After all, the outside world is here in a micro form. It's a beautiful statement. The state, society is the individual writ large, and the individual is the society writ small. The same way I say, if you want to realize Brahman, there are two ways for you. Subjectively, you can make an analysis. Analyze your own being, the body, the vital forces, these motor organs, the sense organs, the mind, and then go inside. You will stumble upon the self. You cannot but stumble upon the self. You cannot run away from the self. Catch hold of it. The satisfaction that you have, I have discovered something, is catching hold of it. Otherwise, you can also start from the outside world, external world, which is almost in a larger scale what is true of the body. The body is made of the Panchabhutas. The external world is also consists of Panchabhutas. The Bhutas are the same. What is outside is in me. What is in me is outside. So try to go deeper and deeper into the world through the process of cause-effect relation, Karya-Karana Vichara, you will come to Ishvara. So from the macro world side you come to Ishvara. From the micro side you come to the self. The self is identical with Ishvara because the self is of the nature of consciousness. Ishvara is also of the nature of consciousness. Consciousness is one. That is consciousness. Consciousness is in me. It is a transcendental entity which is always available. When I think, when I feel, when I will, only these three I can do. Thinking, feeling and willing. Nothing more. All that you may say through your vidhi and all that one, it must come within the purview of my three kinds of existence I have. As a knowing being, as a feeling being, as a volitional being. I don't know anything else at all. Advaita makes philosophy simple. And when we study Advaita, we can develop confidence. I can consciously say I am doing philosophy. I can't say that in the case of Nyaya. I am playing with words and concepts. Descriptive metaphysics, or what if? Yes, there is substance. You call it, you analyze it. Very thankful to you. Does it help me to go in the search of, in the pursuit of that entity? I can't pursue and reach an entity which is transcendent. It's beyond my reach. Not beyond that. Tell me an entity which I can reach, which I can hold, which I can realize here itself. It is a self. Where is it? It is in me. Supposing I am interested in seeing the world and analyzing the world, you can do that one. You will come to a point where you will find that there is identity between what is in you and what is in the world. Ishvara therefore is in the world. Ishvara in the world. Ishvara replaces Brahman if you want. Brahman in the form of Ishvara is in the world.
So in this context, can we elucidate further the statement of Dr. Adams that you have told yesterday?
Who is speaking?
The statement of Dr. Radhakrishnan
Ah,
that you have yesterday told now.
yeah.
Molded
Brahman cast in the logical mold is Ishvara. Further? Elucidation?
in this context.
What do you want me to do? Why don't you please stand up and tell me? Because the glare is so much, I am not able to see you. I want to have face-to-face contact with the person.
Dr. Radhakrishnan statement is that the Brahman molded in the mold of logic
Ah,
is Ishvara.
ah.
Further elucidation.
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that. Please, sit down. I will do that. I'm happy that you asked this question. Because the moment that question, that statement arises, people just turn away Radhakrishnan. Radhakrishnan is highly imaginary. he doesn't have his feet here down on earth. He's talking about something. The statement is, the ultimate reality for us is Brahman. Am I clear? I do that drill once again. Brahman. Brahman has no relation with anything. He would like to, but unfortunately there is no second entity. Only if there is a second entity, it can come into relation with that. There is no second entity. Now in the beginning itself, the Vedic text tells us, because we are capable, we have carried some memory carried from the previous life. That's why you find the child is able to smile and all that one. Child is capable of receiving impressions when it is in the womb. So the Vedic text says that one, referring to Brahman as that one. I say that it is enough if there is the word one, ekam. But what does it do? What does it do? It says, using a demonstrative pronoun, ekam, that one. Don't you know? That one. It is narrating the story, a story which we have forgotten. That one. What is that one? That demonstrative pronoun. One refers to Brahman. Brahman is one. It is enough if it says only one. It says tadekam, that one. Nasadiya Sutta. Song of Creation, Nasadiya Sutta. What is this one? We don't know. The Upanishad text later on says, oh, you want to know about that one? It is one, only, without a second. Ekam. Then there is a definitive particle, eva, and then advidiyam. The commentators say that in order to convey the idea that it is free from all the three kinds of Veda, Sajadiya Veda, Vijadiya Veda, Swagata Veda, it says that it is one, only, without a second. So it is a commentary, Chandogya commentary on the Vedic text, Rigvedic text, Nasadiya Sutta, where there is reference to this ultimate reality as one. That one, don't you know, which I talked about in my previous course, like that it is telling a story. So one has no relation with anything, no relation, because there is no second object. It exists alone, nothing else. But it has to be brought into relation with the world. We are in the world. We are in the cosmos. And in order to effect the relation between this Brahman, which is Nirguna, Nirvisesha, and all that one, which we say is Asanga, having no relation with anything, Asango Yayam Purusha, I quoted. In order to make it relational, come into relation with this cosmos, okay, an effort has to be needed. It says, I will be here. We are not, please come and get related with the world, the cosmos. There in that context, I use the word, this is the Nishprapancha position, and then it has to become Saprapancha with the world. And then it agrees. And if it agrees, it says I won't come directly in the Nishprapancha form, non-relational form. So it gets into the green room and then it puts on the cloak of Ishvara. And Ishvara is God. Ishvara is Saguna Brahman. So Brahman, which is Nirguna, now becomes Saguna. Why? Because in order to play an important role in the drama of the cosmos. Otherwise, we will not have the cosmos. Even if we exist, then we remain cut off from this Brahman. So, we make it relational, we endow it with various attributes such as omniscience, omnipotence, and so on and so on. That is to say, to associate qualities or attributes with the one, with Brahman, means we make it Saguna. So Nirguna Brahman is now Saguna Brahman. And in between the two, we have already smuggled Maya. Without Maya, this drama will not take place. So already when Brahman got into the green room to put on the cloak, with the cloak, inside the cloak, Maya has gone. So Brahman, we have presupposed Maya, smuggled in Maya, we have changed Nirguna Brahman into Ishvara or Saguna Brahman. We have made him, once he is Saguna Brahman, he is related to the cosmos as the cause of the cosmos, as one who is capable of maintaining it, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, all the qualities of being the ruler of the. Now, how do you understand Ishvara? Radhakrishnan says, Brahman cast in the mold of logic, mold is there. And once you have such a mold, put Brahman into that mold, that Brahman comes out as Ishvara. That means it is only by means of logical reasoning, logical principles. What is the logical principle? Karya-karana sambandha. Karya-karana sambandha. Brahman is the karana. As the karana as what? As Ishvara, he becomes the karana. He is Brahman. Suddham Brahma is not the karana. It is only Shabalam Brahma. Shabalam. Suddham and Shabalam. The two adjectives, important adjectives. Suddham. Nirguna Brahman is Suddham. Association with Maya, it makes it Shabalam. Alukun artham la, not association with the dirt or anything. No, Maya is a wonderful thing here. So association with this Upadhi makes it Shabalam. What is pure, it now becomes Shabalam. Then it is effective. It becomes Ishvara, becomes Mayin, Maheshwara, Mayin. So, in a very figurative language, but forceful figurative language, which will convey the message. Radhakrishnan says, Brahman cast in the mold of logic is Ishvara. In the mold of logic, inga logic enga mold vandhudu Shankarar solli adha solliyen kaiya aatra alaram கையை ஆட்டி என்ன செய்கிறது? வேப்பத்தூர் சாப்பிட்டு கையை ஆட்டுறாள் ஒன்றும் இல்லையே, எங்க லாஜிக் மோல்டு எங்க இருக்கு, அது எங்க இருக்கு, இது எங்க இருக்குன்னு வேப்பத்தூர் சொல்வார். See, it's a pleasure to listen to some of these traditional pundits. The way they do, their mannerism is appreciable. Have you made it clear to you? Huh? What is the rationale behind it? Yeah, that E is also pronunciation. I'll tell you. I hear. We want to account for the world. It's not so. We want to account for the world. That I am telling you. See, we want to account for the world. Just as we want to explain every object in the world, how do you explain every object in the world? Usually we do it in terms of cause-effect relation. Supposing there is a pot, I say, what is that pot? How is it has come? You say it has got a cause. Clay is the cause, you say. So if we have any object that we take up, we will say that we try to explain that object. If you are called upon to explain that object, we do it only in terms of cause-effect relation. What is its cause? How is it related to that? Now, the same method of approach we have to make with regard to the things of the world. Individually, yes, you can take an individual object and say, what is the cause of that? Then what is the cause of that cause? And then you can analyze it, find out what are the constituents in that effect. So many parts are there. What are they? Identify. Now, in the same day, you take the world as a whole, as a totality. Individual objects, okay. The whole world. Who made the whole world? Where did it come from? A question that may be asked with regard to the individual object, and also there is a question which may be asked with regard to the world as a whole. Collectively. Who is capable of creating such a big world? Not an ordinary person. A person of super normal powers, endowed with super normal powers. Maybe Satan, maybe devil. No, it is not like that, because we find that the world that is created for us is a very meaningful world, purposive world, very helpful to us, conducive to our growth, physical, mental, intellectual, all-round growth. We are happy. Such a person who has created the world must be one who is all-knowing, all-powerful, all-merciful, ensuring that everything is done according to certain principles. That means we associate all these with that cause. That cause of the entire world, it is both the material cause and the efficient cause. That means total control. Who is that being? He must be the Creator God. So from this world we proceed to the Creator God. Ishvara, call it Ishvara. Call it Saguna Brahman. Any term you use, the Supreme, capital S. Supreme. In Western philosophy, the Absolute, capital A. Where did that Absolute, the Supreme Being come? Where did he come from? Is there any cause for him? No. So we have decided to say, following Aristotle, is the first cause, ultimate cause, nothing else beyond that cause, that Brahman, that Ishvara. Then the tradition we say, now Ishvara is related to the world. All the time you will be having the burden of this world. The burden which Ishvara carries is such a heavy burden. He doesn't complain. Our thinking is always anthropomorphic. Just as we are having hands and eyes and all that one, we think that the God should also have hands and eyes and legs and all that one. Probably endow him with more hands, only 2 feet. More hands. The more the hands, the more the power. That is anthropomorphic thinking. We see that the anthropomorphism as we get into the temple. We are happy, aesthetically we are happy, oh look at here. But underlying the whole thing, there is this anthropomorphism which has caught hold of us. We think of God as at the same human level, from the human perspective. And we require concerts, yes, they do have. What else? Mutual rivalry, yes, they say. Puranic stories, they say. But that is not philosophy. So, the Vedic texts say, this Ishvara is no other than the Brahman. Then what is the reason for Brahman to become Ishvara? Brahman left to himself, left to itself, has no relation with anything else. But in that case, there is no cosmos. There is no world. We are in the world. Already we are in the world. The world consisting of various kinds of objects. Therefore, we have to connect this world with the ultimate cause. So, some change some certain changes have to be made with regard to that Brahman. He has to be brought down so that Brahman becomes cosmic, related to the world. As what? As logically we try to explain now. Now we bring in logic. Logic, what kind of a logic? Logic of Karya Karanavada. That is the basic principle. And therefore, in order to explain that application, the need for the application of the principles of logic to supreme reality in a metaphorical way, but conveying the truth, Radhakrishnan says, Brahman cast in the mold of logic, Brahman viewed from the logical point of view, that is viewed from the logical point of view, cast in the mold of logic. The moment you apply logic to Brahman, Brahman becomes Ishvara. Once Brahman becomes Ishvara, everything is served. Still, if there is a problem, you have to do some meditation. Don't do any meditation excepting meditation. This on this text. Sometimes we do that kind of a reflection, re-reflection on a particular text. And a statement not to be ignored, a statement not to be said, oh, it is a idiomatic way of saying that one, but a statement full of significance. A statement which can come only from Radhakrishnan. He is gifted that way. Will you please repeat that sentence, sir, for my pleasure? Cast in the mold of logic is Ishvara. Wonderful. எனக்கு டைம் முடிஞ்சு போயிடுதா? இன்னும் 10 நிமிஷம் இருக்கு. So our problem, so we can tackle the problem at the individual level. At the individual level, it is easy, and then we are provided with two kinds of procedure: Panchakosa Vichara and what is known as Avasthatraya Vichara. If you want to have a clear idea of the Jiva as an entity, undertake Panchakosa Vichara and Avasthatraya Vichara. The result will be very fruitful. If you want to make a good study of the external world, the macro world, starting from this world as it is, undertake Karya Karana Vichara. Karya Karana Vichara. And when you apply Karya Karana Vichara and when you handle both the Parinama and Vivarta, I told you there is only one principle for that Vaidyan. The entire world, what we call the world of Maya, the entire world of Maya, the superimposed world, is Kalpida. This is true with regard to the Parinama example, where you have got Karya and Karana. Vivarta example, again you have Karya and Karana. If we use the word illusory, Sanskrit word is mithya. Supposing in English word illusory, Sanskrit word mithya also has been too often used that it seems to create some kind of an allergy problem for us. Mithya. Whether it is Parinama or Vivarta, when you want to give a total explanation, you say, everything other than Brahman is Kalpida. Because we say that cause alone is real. Vacharam vanam vikaro namadeyam mirtigetyeva satta. And or yevagaram pottadu. Mirt alone is real. then Brahma is not real? Yes, it is real. Every karana is real, whatever it may be. So, kalpidasya, every vikara, every effect is kalpita. Kalpidasya adhishthana swarupam. Brahman is the adhishthana, support for everything starting from Maya. So we live here, this is the message that Advaita gives. Then the question arises, it's an important question. Well, I go through, the spiritual aspirant goes through the moral discipline in the form of sadhana chatushtaya, and also the spiritual discipline in the form of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana means here the text to be heard under the guidance of a teacher. The text is the Vedic text, that is Shruti, Pramana. All the time there will maybe some kind of a lingering doubt, because what Shruti says seems to come into conflict with other Pramanas. First and foremost is Pratyaksha, which I said is the Jeshta Pramana, the first among the Pramanas. Just as Vinayaka is Jeshta among the gods that we worship. Pratyaksha is the Jeshta Pramana, the first Pramana. Every Pramana is dependent on Pratyaksha at some stage or other. Anumana is dependent. Upamana is dependent. Shabda also in a sense is dependent, because you hear the sound. Arthapati is dependent. Anupalapati is dependent. They are dependent for their origination, not for their functioning. Anumana may seek the help of Pratyaksha for its origination. Having come, it stands on its own. When it does its function, it does not depend upon Pratyaksha. I make a distinction between origination and functioning. குழந்தை பிறக்கிறது எல்லாம் ஆறது, குழந்தை வளர்ந்து போறது. It does function on its own. No more dependent upon the mother. அடிக்கடி சொல்லிட்டே இருக்க கூடாது. ரேவதி சொல்லிட்டே இருக்க கூடாது. Leave him. Now, but even then they say that other Pramanas, no, it's a problem, they come into conflict. Now we ask the question, now why do you find fault with Shruti? Is there any problem? Now, we have already said that Pramanas, each Pramana is authoritative in its own area. Pramana Vyavastha. Perception has got its own area, so also inference, so also Upamana, so also Shabda. I gave the example, remember the first class. Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Caesar will not interfere with God. God will also not interfere with Caesar. One is the secular authority, the other is the spiritual authority. So, we don't like the idea that other Darshanikas trying to threaten us by saying, what you say in the name of Shruti is contradicted by Pratyaksha and other Pramanas. Now we ask the question, if what the Vedic text, what the Upanishad text, if what it says has already been stated by the other Pramanas have conveyed the information which we are now getting from the Sabda Pramana Upanishads. Then it's a problem. Our Pramana is only because we always say there should be novelty. When we define Prama, Abadidartha and Adhikada, Abadidartha Vishayam. It should be something that is new, conveyed only by that Pramana. And also it remains unsublated. We have incorporated two aspects in the definition. So, you may say that Shruti cannot be accepted. Shruti cannot be accepted on one of the four grounds. What are the four grounds? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Pramanantara Pratipanna Prativadanam. எல்லாம் சுரேஸ்வரர் நம்ம பேசுறதெல்லாம். பிரமாணாந்தர பிரதிபன்ன பிரதிவாதனம். பிரமாணாந்தர பிரதிபன்ன பிரதிவாதனம். பிரமாணாந்தர பிரதிபன்ன பிரதிவாதனம். Pramanantara, by another pramana. That if you say that Shruti conveys, Shruti repeats what is already conveyed, Prativadanam. By whom? Pramanantaram. What is conveyed by the other pramana is now repeated by Shruti. It doesn't give you some new information. When you say Tattamasi, no new information. It is already conveyed by some other pramana. Pramanantara, by a different pramana, Pratipanna, Prativadanam. What is already stated, now it is being Prativadanam, it is being stated by Shruti. In that case, you can reject Shruti. It's not something new what it says. Or, you can reject a second ground for rejecting this is Viparita Prativadanam. Viparita Prativadanam. Shruti says something which is opposed to another pramana. Other pramana says that every object is a Vishesha. Something. Here we say it is a Nirvishesha. Oh, there is conflict between the two. So if there is such a conflict, Viparita Prativadana, if Shruti says something which is Viparita, which is opposed to, which is in conflict with the other pramana, then you say, no sir, we can't accept it. The third objection may be Samshaya Prativadanam. Samshaya Prativadanam. Shruti conveys something which is doubtful. Samshaya. It is open to doubt. We can't be certain about what it conveys. Then you can say what is doubtful cannot be accepted, therefore you can reject it. Samshaya Prativadanam. And then the fourth objection, the very serious objection, Na Prativadanam. Onnume sollala. Shruti doesn't say anything. Na Prativadam. Na Prativadanam. Na. It doesn't say anything. It is not communicative at all. Only when it is communicative, you have to ask the question whether it is a case of Pramanantara Prativanna Prativadana or Viparita Prativadana or Samshaya Prativadana. No. This Shruti does not open its mouth at all. அப்படியே கல் மாதிரி உட்காந்துருக்கும். என்ன கேள்வும்? What is the position? Only 4 possibilities are there. Take the first objection. I'll take some 5 minutes more. There is time still. Time is at our disposal. Pramanantara Pratipanna Prativadanam. It is not possible because we have already given a ruling. Every pramana does its work in its own area. Do you accept that principle or not? If you don't, then you will have difficulty. So, all the pramanas excepting Shabda, excepting Vaidika Shabda, all the pramanas, they operate at the empirical sphere. The object, the information that they convey is concerned with our day-to-day affairs. To know that fire is hot, yes, we require the help of Pratyaksha. Shankara says, I will not quote from Shruti. To say that fire is hot and ice is cold, I will not seek the help of Shruti. It is known in a simple way by pratyaksha. Nor will I accept Shruti if it says fire is cold and ice is hot. Even that I will not accept, even though it may come from Shruti. What will you do with regard to such a statement? We have got a provision provided by Mimamsaka. You can say it is an Arthavada. It's an Arthavada. It can't be taken literally. It wants to convey that there are things in the world which seem to be apparently contradictory, just as in this case. So that is a defense for us. But Shruti doesn't meddle with the things of the world, the information provided by the other pramanas, because that is the pramana vyavastha. Therefore, there is no scope for this objection, namely that Shruti repeats what is already conveyed by the other pramanas. No scope for that. Pramanantara pratibandha pratipadanam, no. Viparita pratipadanam, even that is not possible, because we have clearly indicated the competence of the ear is restricted to its own area. The competence of the visual sense restricted equally to the own area. What the visual sense does, the ear cannot do. What the ear does, the visual sense cannot do. What pratyaksha does, anumana cannot do. Something like that. Pramana vyavastha. Therefore, there is no question about viparita pratipadanam. And then remember that how can a pramana which has got only vyavaharika pramanyam, its only possession is vyavaharika pramanyam. It is at one level. Shruti is at another level. The vyavahara pramanas cannot reach what Shruti says. It is at a higher level. I gave the example of 3 persons trekking. I gave the other example from Wittgenstein. St. Paul is at a higher level. And from the higher level of St. Paul, something is true. I am here at the very low level, mundane level. I cannot understand what St. Paul says. Not that I do not know the meaning of the words, sentence, words, semantics, all that I know. But still, the significance. Every word has not only an outward meaning, but it conveys some significance. I can't understand that significance being placed at a lower level. To me, it may appear what St. Paul says is nonsensical. What is it he's talking about? Yeah, I can teach contemptuously, does not matter. It remains uncontaminated. He is at the higher level. You understand what I mean by higher and lower level. His perspective is entirely different. He makes such a statement, an entirely different perspective, different context. If you don't understand the context and the perspective, well, you will tarnish the whole thing. So, these pramanas, pratyaksha, anumana, and so on, they function at the vyavaharika level. Now, Shruti has got something to say at the paramarthika level. When it talks about the identity of the jiva and the Ishvara, it is not from the ordinary point of view. Don't take the sentence at the surface level. Beginning itself, I told you, Wittgenstein speaks about a picture in the foreground and a picture in the background. There is a picture in the foreground at the surface level. Go deeper, you can see another picture in the background. Is Wittgenstein mystical? He is doing this kind of a language analysis. When people feel uncomfortable, they say, oh, he has become mystical here. Wait for some time. When he comes normal, we can talk to him. So, viparita, the question of viparita, opposition, conflict, doesn't arise. Samsaya pratipadanam, what it conveys is doubtful. Yes, it is doubtful to a person who does not know the principles of syntax, semantics and all that. If you do not know how to construe the meaning, then what it conveys is doubtful. Samshaya. It does not, last one, it does not communicate anything at all. It tests the patience of Sureshwara. He says, yes, Shruti is not communicative to a person who is in the form, the human form, but made of clay mold. Clay mold. Clay mold or human form. To such a person, clay cannot convey anything because he is in the human form, the clay in the human form. The clay has been put in the mold of the human form. The விக்கிரகங்கள்லாம் பண்ணும்போது பண்ணுவாங்க வெங்கலத்தை உருக்கி அப்படியே போடுறது. Then comes Subramanya, then comes Devayana, just comes Valli. Yes, Shruti will not be communicative to such a dull-headed, block-headed fellow. He dismisses contemptuously. Therefore, the field of Shruti is entirely different, and the entire Advaita philosophy, paying attention to Avantara Vakyas, that is the subsidiary statements like creation talks about creation. Because somebody asked us today that Gaudabada talks about Ajadivada. How does he talk about? He talks first about the Jativada. Then only he comes to Ajadivada, bringing out the difficulties with regard to all the three theories of creation. He says, well, it is a story that is necessary to be told at one stage. We don't refuse to tell stories to children, bedtime stories. Similarly, philosophical texts also tell bedtime stories so that you can be caught and taken to the goal. In order to expose the untenability inherent in all the Jativadas, creation texts, because they are part of the Upanishadic core. You can't say that one, I will throw away. Just as I told you with regard to the Mimamsakas. The Mimamsakas may be unhappy with regard to the Siddhartha Bodhaka Vakyas. Because they are unhappy, they cannot keep aside, remove it from the Vedic texts. They have to explain. They say there are Arthavadas. Arthavadas. So, if there is any philosophy, I'll conclude now, if there is any philosophy which addresses our problem, empirical problem, day-to-day problem, take the problem in full swing. No side pushing the problem. You take the problem. What is it I suffer from, you suffer from in our daily life? Give a rational explanation. That is what Advaita does. Therefore, the whole of philosophy of Advaita proceeds from empirical pluralism to transcendental monism, to that one. We may reach that one now, later, not in life, but we are already on the move from the Annakosa bodily level to the vital level, because we are interested in controlling the breath and all that one, in a limited way at our home, not in a full-fledged way as Patanjali would expect us. To the mental level, to the physical level, to the intellectual level, to the level of some kind of a bliss. That is a spiritual transcendence. Concrete proof we are having. So the more we go into the way in which it has to be understood, the better for us. Thank you very much. And I cannot teach this course. One sentence I wanted to say to Anthony. I like him so much. He asked a question. When body is the bondage, is a limiting factor, how do you deal with that one? How do you talk about Jivamukti and all that one? Now I told him that Shankara says in one place that The mere presence of the body is not a problem for us. We don't complain about that. The body is there. We don't complain about that. But in the case of Jivan Mukta, will that be a problem? No. All that we say is, attachment with the body is a problem. Not the mere presence of the body is a problem. Supposing he is here by my side, he is not a problem. If I am getting problems either by my attachment to him or his attachment to me, that prevents me from doing my work. My attachment prevents him from doing his work. That is a problem. The body, as body, the presence of the body is not a problem. எல்லாம் வச்சிருக்கேன் கையிலங்க, கொண்டு வருது கிடையாது. No point in quoting because explanation is more important to me. Aha. தேகைஹி சம்பந்தஹா தேக சம்பந்தஹா, இந்த வார்த்தைக்கெல்லாம் அர்த்தம் சொல்றாரு முதல்ல. தேகைஹி சம்பந்தஹா தேக சம்பந்தஹா. அடுத்த கேள்வி கேட்கிறார், அவரே கேட்கிறார், கப்புனஹா தேக சம்பந்தஹா. இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பாஷ்யம் எழுதுறது ஒன்லி சங்கரா கேன் டு. தேகைஹி சம்பந்தஹா தேக சம்பந்தஹா. காது கேட்கிறதா? மைக் ஒர்க் பண்றதா? சரி. கப்புனஹ தேக சம்பந்தஹ தேகாதிரயம் சம்பந்தஹ சங்காத தேகாதிரயம் சங்காதஹ அகம் இதி ஏவம் ஆத்மனி விபரீத பிரத்யய உற்பத்திஹி. அந்த விபரீத பிரத்யய உற்பத்தி that creates a problem. I identify himself with my body. Oh, wonderful. இந்த சட்டை நல்லா இருக்கு, கொஞ்சம் கலர் ஷேடு கருப்பா இருக்கு. அதுவும் பக்கத்துல ஜெயந்தி பக்கத்தில் ரெடிகேட் பண்ண பார்த்தா பியூட்டிஃபுல் லவபிள் ஸ்கின், இங்க கருப்பு. அப்படியே admiring myself, yeah. Yeah. That is life. Yes. There are shades. Now, it is that attachment to the body that creates a problem. If you can free yourself, it doesn't matter. Just as the example that is given in the Brahadaranika, there is a snake and a slug. It knows that it is own slough, the skin that is left over. It doesn't even look at it. It goes its own way, indicating that, oh, it has gone through that way, it has done some kind of a work. Thank you. There is nothing which is wanting in the Bhashya, Shankara's Bhashya. The only thing is, we don't study.